Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and it is a great honor to introduce our very first mega panel to the event. It is sponsored by Strategic DX, your dealer experience. Everyone will know Stephen Apicella. To moderate this panel, however, we have a special moderator today. It is Joe St. John of AutoFi. Joe, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
I'm just shocked you guys are letting me moderate something, right? Like, this is going to be so much fun and so much chaos, and we're going to get into so many deep discussions. And this panel is chock full of some of the brightest minds in retail today, and I can't wait to get into it, Ted. Thank you for having me on here.
Joe, you bring the fire. I am going to step out of the way, and I'm going to let you get the show started.
Let's kick this thing off. And I don't think this panel needs any introductions. You are the all-stars amongst all-stars in this business. And we're just going to dive right into this. We got about 40 minutes and it is a beautiful day. And let's get rocking and rolling. So here's what this is about. This is about modern retailing and modern engagement. And I think these are terms that get thrown around all the time. And I think it gets lost in this idea of just like getting a customer one time. And so I want to kick this over to you, Steve, to really get the conversation going about what does modern retailing and modern engagement actually mean to this industry?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And, especially to the people on this panel, the brilliant minds, and to our great brick and mortar dealers, modern retail, there's a lot of discussion about the disruptors. Those who have come in, the 100% only online retailers. And I don't think it's our industry's mission to catch up to them. It's our job to surpass them. The one great thing about our industry is its unique ability to also locally service its customers better than anybody. And that's a huge part of the ownership journey that the brick and mortar dealers can deliver, transcending just selling a car, which is what the 100% online retailers are doing today. So there's an opportunity here. I believe our industry, not everything's broken. I'm not that guy. I think there's a lot of great things happening in our industry, but there's a gap. There's a gap in between a customer and that one-time transaction buying the car and the service departments that can service them better than anybody. And we deploy a platform called Your Dealer Experience that extends and connects the disconnected parts of that relationship, extending things like F&I revenue and digital engagement for F&I products and digital push notification messaging and a digital rewards program all in one dealer branded application so that we can take all these great elements and connect them together for one unified journey between a dealer and their customer.
That's a great way to get this thing going. Tully, I'm going to bring it to you at a dealership working in the fixed ops world. How is modern retailing impacting you, and what does it really mean?
Well, I think when it comes to F&I products, as we are truly in the repeat and referral business, and as we start that journey buying the very first car and buying those great F&I products that we'd sell our family members, that's going to drive the business into the service drive. And when you look at modern retailing, what happens when you drive in the service drive? I got a whole bunch of stuff from you. What did I buy? Well, the guy is on YouTube or he hasn't come in today yet at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll call you back. But that's not modern retailing today. What modern retailing is that, hello, Mrs. Jones, welcome to the dealership. And oh, by the way, I see that you bought some of these unbelievable products that I would have my parents buy. And I'm so glad I can come you in today. That is the power of this product. And this is the power of modern retailing, is that we have technology where at our fingertips today to drive great repeat referral business.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. Brooke, how about you from your vantage point, coming out of the world that you came out of, really taking this on? How do you see modern retailing and modern engagement really impacting our industry today?
I absolutely love this topic for so many reasons. I recently did a questionnaire about, hey, when you buy a vehicle service contract, what's been your experience? Now, I know some individuals answered this, and of course, the individuals on this panel do a great job. And those that feel those pressure points of, you go in, you're like, I have to prove I actually bought this vehicle service contract. And I always buy the OEM contract every single time. One, normally, as we all know, we're in the industry, so we more than likely are getting some type of deal with the vehicle. So we always want to support the dealership, right? That's number one. Number two, I'm always going to do it just because I travel a lot. So I want to make sure my car is taken care of. Do you know that me, Brooke Furness, I keep a copy of that vehicle service contract in my glove box? Why? Because the amount of times I have had issues with proving to the person where I always buy the car from the same dealership, I always have to prove that I purchased that vehicle contract every single time. I'm like, you guys, you know me, I've purchased this. So that's number one, is that you always run into this. And that was the overwhelming response of, hey, I always get it, but I always have issues with it, showing that I have to prove it. So that's number one. Number two, there was a study done, I think it was by Forbes, that it said that US companies lose $136.8 billion due to avoidable churn and just avoidable churn, which I thought that was kind of very interesting. I know that's across all, but when you take that and internalize that a little bit to what we're doing here with service. Now, this is all avoidable. And Steve, with your dealer experience, that's incredible what you're doing. But we can make this, and it's not just with technology, it's speaking. Hey, what did they do? Did they have this? Let's actually open up our mouths and have a communication from both sides of it. The technology aspect is phenomenal, but we also have to have the actual human communication and talk and cross-train and all these other things that we all have those amazing, wonderful, pull your hair out stories about, wait, you had technology and your CRM told you to do something, but you do really need to go call that customer and you just saw the customer. Like, we all have those stories. So I think there's all these different experiences of, hey, what are we doing? Do we really need to do this? And having the technology that's phenomenal. And I cannot praise Steve enough with your dealer experience, what that's doing. I know that they're ticker down here. If you haven't called Steve, please call it, because what that is done, there's no one out there doing it. So thank you just so much for that. Also have that human connection portion of it.
Yeah, I think that the systems and processes and the way that we execute against these things in the dealership is so critically important, right? And so, Ed Roberts, you've been Fast Eddie. You've been in the service world for a long time, right? You have been wrenching on cars since your childhood, and I've seen you walk around a dealership getting frustrated at service advisors waiting on a phone, trying to get to talk to somebody to figure out whether or not they can get something approved so they can get the work done for the customer. Tell me, what, from a service-centric viewpoint, how can we deliver modern retailing and modern engagement to today's consumers?
Well, a lot of what we talk about all ties together with technology and retention. We sell these products ultimately to create the retention. But if somebody like Brooke has to bring her contract in every single time to prove that she has this coverage, then are we really using technology to our advantage? And are we really telling that customer that I value your business? And we have to tie those things together so it's a seamless experience. We have forced customers to do business on our terms, do business with us on our terms for years. And this is the opportunity for us to do business with them on their terms and truly create an ease of ownership where they value coming back to the dealer, where they feel like they're getting their bang for their buck, rather than just coming in. I got coverage for that. I showed it to you last time. We're sending them in a rat race that ultimately is easily avoidable by tying all those things together, where everybody sees it, the technician, the advisor, everybody's on the same page. It isn't, let me create an estimate for this. Oh, nope, it changed because they got special pricing, whatever it may be. It becomes seamless. And that's the ticket to meeting customers on their terms.
As we imagine, a customer that organically came back to your dealership because they needed support, and when they announce, I bought my car here, I bought some protection products and need service support, overwhelmingly in our industry, that opportunity for retention is spoiled when a service advisor, and it's not their fault, they're ill-equipped, has to say, what products did you buy from us?
Brooke, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have a copy of your contract with you? Do you know what it's called? And the landscape that we live in is every dealership has multiple third-party administrators powering their F&I environment. So it's not one 1-800 number and one phone queue and one call hold wait time and one manual claim processing. It's like jumping through multiple rings of fire in order to accommodate. And I say that, dealers today have to have world-class waiting rooms. Go have a coffee on us while we figure out what we sold you. And that's not the way it should be. And with all these topics, F&I revenue is important. Why do we leave it to just the F&I menu presentation? I'm not saying to remove the F&I menu presentation. I'm just simply asking, why does it just reside in that one micro moment? And then these service contracts, which by simplest definition is a contract for service. Why do we deploy the least desirable methods in order to deliver service when needed? It's 2022. This is long overdue.
Steve, you're taking me back here, right? So I came out of the finance world. I was a finance director. I had 7 F&I producers, and multiple times during my day as a director, I would have a service advisor show up in my office and go, "Hey, would you look this customer up in Reynolds real quick? I want to see if they bought anything." Like literally, that's how we connected those dots. And for me, I look at that today and I think like there's got to be better solutions, because while that's happening, there's a customer sitting in that lounge drinking coffee, wondering what the heck's going on. This should all be connected. Let's get over to Sean. Sean, tell us from your vantage point, your take on this.
So we talked about it during the last panel, the same group of we can go, and I'm going to take what Tully and Ed and take it a step further on the retail side, where you're right. We rely on the F&I person to put it in the right field, depending, I don't care what DMS you're on, where it's CDK or Reynolds and Reynolds or Techion or DealerTrack. If you don't put it in the right field in the exact right spot and put the exact right details, and by the way, you have this much space to type it into, the service advisor's blank. And to Tully's point, guys, we're in the resale business. That's what we're into. We're in the retail business. We're all about the client, okay? So as we grow, and now we're going to go to 24 stores in the group, as we acquire another store, what we're forgetting, and I know Ed and I and Tully have been on a ton of panels together talking about EV cars. Guys, the world's evolving. You got Carvana. You've got all these online tools that are selling service contracts that our advisors will never know what they sold. I'm not discounting what anybody's saying. We do a horrible job in-house. How do we expect to do the job outside our own house? We don't know what they're selling. Let's take the Corvette C8. I owned one for a minute, just a minute. I sold it. Made a good killing, by the way, so everybody knows. But you got all these people traveling all over the United States to buy a C8. You know they're buying a service contract. They're not from us because we can't get enough of them, and we don't know what they're buying. And they automatically, the very first interaction with the dealer, with the service advisor, is automatically we're already creating a wall, because we're telling them we don't know, we can't tell, we have no idea where to find it, and quite frankly, we probably don't give a damn, because at that point the customer's wall's up, our wall's up, and we've created a horrible environment from the very first meet and greet, because we don't know what the service contract is, which they already think covers everything anyway.
And Sean, more to that point, every one of these great operators, BDC, fixed ops, everything that's here, everybody desires to create and generate the income from F&I after the sale, but it lacks a process. There's an F&I menu in that micro moment. That's the process. But a service advisor, in order to effectively do it, has to first know, what did we already sell them? And they don't know that. So how the hell could we ever sell them anything else if we don't know what they already have? And then the second thing is a process to actually do it on a desktop or on a smartphone. Here's everything you did buy, and then by extension, here's everything you didn't buy, and here's all the details about it, and you make the decision about it. And our experience, which has been profound with it, is when the customer makes that choice, chargebacks are almost zero, because they're not being tricked into it or forced into it. They're given the opportunity to learn about it and engage it, and that's missing in our industry. It's a vacancy.
It would be amazing. Sorry, Joe. It would be amazing to stand on a service drive for 30 seconds and have an advisor scan a VIN number and go, "Oh, by the way, I know, Mr. Jones, you bought this at our competitor, and I respect that because you couldn't get it from us." Or guys, we talk about Carvana and the other retail dealers. Guys, we have dealers that have 1 or 2 new cars on the lot, so they have to go somewhere else if they want it, because you just can't get it. And they're selling their service contracts. And again, like I said, we're already starting with the wall. And Tully and I and Ed talk about this till we're blue in the face. We create our own walls.
I could not agree more. So the thing for me that I think is really, really, really interesting about bringing all this together here is right now the F&I products themselves are under attack, right? Like you've got the proposed ruling by the FTC that goes into effect in any day now. And if you think about that, like what's happening is this perception or low perception of value. And I think part of that is because when they come into the service drive, they get hit with so what did you buy? Did you buy any of that stuff? And the reality is that a lot of customers can get a lot of value of this if it's at their fingertips, which then better links them to the dealership. So I want to shift a little bit here and go over to BDCs. Elizabeth, let's talk about how in today's world, with all the tools at our fingertips, how can we help solve this from a customer experience, from that, I'm calling the dealership trying to figure out what to do because I got something going on and I'm talking to somebody in a BDC?
I'm glad you asked that because, like oftentimes you get phone calls from customers that have no idea what kind of like finance contract they purchase. They don't know if they purchased like a maintenance plan. They don't know if they purchased an extended warranty. If they got an extended warranty, they don't know what all it covers. And I've also found that oftentimes like the advisors or other dealership have no idea and the customer have no idea as well. Like with Brooke mentioning, a lot of customers don't carry a copy of the contract with them because they have to prove, oh, I have this contract. And, in a BDC, we're able to pull up the contract information, explain everything the best we can to our knowledge. And we even offer send a copy of the contract to that customer. And, I can't help but wonder, from BDC to an advisor, how can we go about training the advisor to know exactly how the contract work, like what it covered, how can they use it, what can it not cover, like how do we help, the finance part, salespeople communicate with service and educate these advisors as well as BDC on how the contract works, because a lot of times people just are completely clueless, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because I can't tell you how often I go to buy something like, do you want to buy an extended warranty, and I'm like, is it really important, like do I really need it, is it going to benefit me? Oftentimes there's hoops and hurdles you have to jump through.
How many times does a service advisor learn about what's being sold in the F&I office for the first time when a customer is standing in front of them requesting service from it? That is a pathway to nowhere. And the repeat and referral business is torn down when we interact like that. And, that's again, there's so many things here, you guys, that are great in the industry. We can refine the hell out of the sales process and separately refine the hell out of the service process. But until we fix that gap in between the two of them, we're going to keep getting what we get. And I can't forecast the future. None of us can. Are we in a recession? The experts don't even know, right? There's an argument about that. Or what's car inventory going to look like? Or what are EVs going to do? I think the greatest innovations and the greatest contributions in our industry are the things that transcend the moment. Is this smart to do in any economic reality? I think so.
So
sorry.
Go ahead, Brooke.
Jump in here. So another thing that I think that puts not only the BDC, it puts service, it puts everyone, I'll say, on edge, and almost it butts heads because of, once again, you have technology that is fighting each other. I've seen, I used to work where I was in 300 dealerships a year, and then doesn't matter what position, where you would have, I've seen stores that have they have a front end DMS and then a back end DMS. Then you have a CRM that doesn't talk to each other. So they can buy what doesn't matter what they're on the F&I menu, they'll buy whatever, but that's not translating to the CRM. It's only translating to one of the DMSs. So now you're going in and every single time they're going into service, that's not even in the back end DMS. So the customer is always losing. Now, don't get me wrong, the stores will losing as well, but as a consumer, even as a BDC, you have no idea what the hell is going on because nothing is translating. So as great as technology is, the technology is failing you, people, process, and product, all three are failing, all of them. So all of this technology.
In 2022, when we're pulling the deal bag to figure out what we sold the customer, how does that happen? And I want to make this point because this is something that's really a core tenet of what we do. Is great technology, when deployed correctly, doesn't remove the in-person engagement, it propels it. It's when you have that moment to create and inspire retention. The fact that a customer came back is not retention. It's what you did in that moment that inspires them to come back again and again and again that matters. And great technology just removes those pain points so that when we do have that in-person engagement, we can make the most of it.
All right, I got a bunch of questions, and I want to keep digging on this. But first, man, John Fraser, I see that saxophone sitting in the background. Why don't you lay some jazz on us right now about what you think is happening in the world of modern retailing and modern engagement, and what you think we can do to stay in time and keep playing?
Man, I think it all goes back to what we've been talking about, and it starts with process. And we've all sort of hit on it already. I know, speaking from our dealership, service contracts are huge. Luckily, with our group of dealers, they've simplified it and they only offer 1 or 2 products. So it's no guessing game for the advisor when the customer comes in. Any product that was offered in F&I, we already know about. The advisors can check it right from their tablet. And so we know what the customer's coming in with. Now, interesting for us, going back to what Sean was saying about customers are having to go other places and buy products elsewhere. 40%, over 40% of my business in the past 12 months were first-time customers. And so I dealt with a lot of third party over the past year that we had no information on. And so it became such a huge component, service contracts, of our service drive. We went out and hired somebody that sits on the service drive, and that's all this person does. It's not productive for an advisor to be chasing his tail on what the customer has and what's covered and what's not covered. So this person serves as a point of contact for the advisors to call in all the claims, to see what sort of coverage the customer has, so that I can keep the advisors in front of the customer. I believe if we want to speak on modern retailing, we have to look at companies like Amazon and the companies that are out there making it easy, if you will, for the customer. If we don't make it easy for the service advisors, they're not going to make it easy for the customers.
You know, and John, that's right on. You know, the secret sauce that a lot of people don't think about, and a lot of people think Amazon's not comparable to the automotive retailing industry, and it is. Amazon is chock full of brick and mortar and people to deliver its products and services. We're not looking at it through the right filter, right?
Right.
But the reason why Amazon is $1 trillion plus valued company is not because they can sell something one time. It's because they figured out the desired engagement before and after the sale that keeps their customers coming back again and again and again. I don't know your personal online buying habits on this panel or anybody watching, but I promise you nobody's gone to Amazon once. We keep going back again and again. And the real value about that is not only did they figure out the desired engagement before and after the sale, but the thing that people should take note of is they're not the cheapest resource online anymore. But it doesn't matter. People keep coming back because they're willing to pay more for that better experience.
I don't just keep coming back, Steve. I've got a shopping cart full of stuff and I'm just waiting to get the courage to hit buy on, right? Like that's how much I love Amazon.
Yeah.
Now, Tully Williams, I want to come to you because I heard something a second ago that really stuck out to me. My mom was a service advisor, right? I love advisors. I believe it is the lifeblood of the dealership. And for me, Tully, I think that advisors want to be great at their job. They don't want to be sitting on a phone waiting for a warranty administrator to talk to them. And I want to hear from you how much this modern retailing and modern engagement can actually make their lives better to make customers' lives better.
As we are in the repeat referral business, think of this. F&I products are important, but if the F&I department and the service department are not syncing, as I share an office with the F&I guy right over there. Do you believe that I sell a bunch of products? You come in the driveway and they say, what did you buy? Oh, you bought all that stuff? Bro, no, that doesn't work. It talks about, are the riders all in? Because what's the best job you can have? The best job is that everything is covered and you get a deductible from the customer and the customer leaves happy. What does the tech want? The tech wants a yes answer fast. What happens? This is what happens when modern retail works. When you sell F&I products that the store believes in, that we would sell our family members. Next, the service advisors want to have those products. You didn't buy that product. Get your app out. Let me show you how you can get that product for you. Have you lost your key once a year? Why would you not want the key program, right? Have it everybody excited. And then best of all, what's the best used car for a dealer? A car that has an extended warranty on it because it's always fixed. So here's the guys and gals. Is your store connected? Is your store working together to do what? To drive repeat and referral business, make the customer's experience the easiest possible. That's the issue. And F&I products help that happen.
You know, Tully, it's old school and cliche. I honor my dad who's long passed by saying this, but a good deal is only a good deal when it's good for everybody. Is it good for the customer? Is it good for our employees? And you know what? I want to honor this too. These third-party administrators play a critically valuable role in our industry by creating these products that create this revenue and retention opportunity. But the truth is, even these great third-party administrators spend the most amount of money delivering service the least desirable way. And part of what our platform does is refine the process for them too, so that they can deliver that fast, efficient, world-class service. And by extension, your service advisors can too. We got to stop throwing bodies at it and start throwing intelligence at it so we can do this the right way.
So, Steve, when you guys came up to the Nilo company and we talked about putting the product in, I was at a service manager dinner and I told them, hey, this is what's coming. And they instantly said yes. They didn't even ask how much it cost. They didn't want to know anything. I can know what this person bought today at this very second. They were completely freaked out. That's what modern retail is about. Something so simple can make our life so much easier. I mean, poor John down there, this guy here has to hire somebody to do something that an app can do for us in the matter of seconds.
And John's person, I think he's applied logic, let's get somebody to do it. But even that person's got to pick up the phone and call the 1-800 number and go through those rings of fire to get that service approved. And that's, again, our industry needs to evolve way past that. We have technology today that can unify it. And the other thing I'll say about this is we're really good as an industry about refining the processes that we already know. But what about the vacancies? What about where nothing exists? It's not okay. And we have to work together hand in hand to ensure that we're really delivering something that people can't live without.
I want to kick over to Ed Robertson. Ed, how does this impact the actual ownership experience for a consumer?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, because the best customer in the world is what? The one we already have. So the best form of conquest is retention. And the way we truly retain our customers, as Tully says, repeat and referral business, is to take away those pain points of the ownership experience. One, by them having a contract, a service contract, for when there is something that happens, we control their expense going forward, but take away the trust factor of, well, they told me that was covered. Well, I got to go see. And when we tie all that together and we create the ownership experience that our customer wants, then we create brand loyalty. Then when we create brand loyalty, we have the retention. When we have retention, we spend a lot less money conquesting. And when we spend a lot less money conquesting, we can predict what our future business looks like. So it's all about the ownership experience. And that's what it all cycles back around to.
I'm going to kick over to Sean for a second. I think that we talk a lot about consumer experience because we believe in consumer experience, but I believe the consumer experience, like consumer interest and shareholder interest, are never in conflict with each other, because consumer experience turns into lifetime value of a customer and it turns into net profitability of the dealership. Sean, give me your take on how all this impacts the actual financial outcomes of a dealership.
It's huge, because Ed said it perfect, and I'm not going to steal all Ed's thunder on that. He already said the best customer is a retained customer. Guys, it's not one that we're sending direct mail out where you get 1 or 2% feedback on, or response rate on, or even the digital side of marketing side of it, where they're sending out blanket Facebook messages that you're overcrowded by. Guys, it's all about retaining the person that's standing in front of you. And once again, if the person standing in front of you, even to John's point, is a first-time client, they're not a second-time client if it starts out confrontational. It's all about the bottom line, and everything on the bottom line is 100% retention. And the manufacturers that have gotten that now, that it's really not about CSI anymore. What's the one question that matters? It's retention. It is all about retention and service contracts, to Tully's point. It's all about taking care of the client that's sitting in front of you. Retention, we are a repeat and referral business. And we, as a business, do a horrible job with it. We know that.
I see this often. There are great solutions out there like AutoFi, to refine the engagement to acquire a customer and to sell them a car. And then that experience, that frictionless experience, abruptly ends with the sale of the car. And that's where, again, I still think that's a very valuable part. But if we're really going to differentiate ourselves from the 100% only online retailers, we have to deliver the whole experience. I call it digital life cycle beyond digital retailing, where we continue that and make that critical connection so that it's not step one, customer acquisition, step two, customer abandonment. And all too often, that's what we see.
Well, And I think there's some people on this panel that are taking that on, right? When I was an F&I manager, we had this saying, SW, SW, SWN, some will, some won't, so what next? And I think that you get this attitude of like, we're churning through them. And so, John, at your dealership, you guys are actually selling F&I contracts through the service drive to customers that are getting vehicles worked on. And you're building some connective tissue between those two departments to think more in a life cycle. Tell me how that's working and how y'all are taking that on.
So it's huge. It's been a lifeline for us, especially with retention. More so our first year retention. It's a big number that Mopar measures. We've seen over the past 2 years nearly a 30-point increase in our first year retention by offering some very small, basic maintenance plans. Hey, listen, buy this contract is nearly the price of one service, but it's going to get you 2. Buy this contract, it's over 3 years' time, and it gets you 4 services. So these people, they buy these contracts. It's a great deal on the surface. It looks great, and it is. And they come back to our drive for these services. We've started that really religiously in the first year. The team sells approximately 20% of our ROs, customer pay ROs, every month get a contract. They drive them really hard. And then we started throwing in road hazard programs, retire and wheel. And it's a great program. It's at $7,500 worth of coverage. I mean, how many times can you buy a set of wheels and tires for $7,500? So then we throw in a 2-year extension of their bumper to bumper, if you will. I know that term's a little sketchy, but their base warranty, we can take it up another 2 years right here from the service drive at a great deal, at a great price. And in that benefit, somebody said key fob earlier, it's got key fob replacement, it's got towing, it's got rental car coverage, it's got trip interruption. You get displaced so far from your home base. We'll pay for lodging, pay for rental car, pay for food. So it's great products that I'd have no problem, nor my team would have a problem selling to their family. And we're just hustling these on the service drive. So it's taken that wall that you often see between departments in the dealership, and it's crushed that wall, making it a continuous retention building tool from F&I onto the service drive. And because of our first-time customers that come through, then we capture a lot of those people as repeat customers. They're not just first-time customers. They come back because they purchase a contract.
John Fraser, I see an added benefit here, right? Because for a service advisor to sell that, they have to understand it. Because if they don't understand it, there's issues, right? Elizabeth, you're working in BDCs. What's the challenges and problems when service advisors don't actually know about and understand the coverage that is being sold to customers?
I found that like if the advisors have no clue what their contract covers, like maybe oftentimes the customer may not want to trust them to service your vehicle, maybe not even want to proceed with the repair that's recommending the vehicle. Like me personally, if I were getting my car serviced and the advisor has no idea what my contract covered or how it even works, like if they can explain to me in detail in a way that I can understand, why should I trust you to service my car and take care of it for me?
And Elizabeth, I love that. And what about the next time you're in that F&I environment again and somebody's pitching you the product again, and that's the experience you had? We have to lay these tracks. The life cycle isn't just the ownership experience with the car you have. It's about the next car and the next experience and the next one. And that's where we have to, again, I see this all the time and I understand the intent, trying to catch up with the 100% online retailers on how we sell cars. Let's figure out how we deliver the kind of value that inspires a lifetime customer. And that's exactly what we're focused on. Again, connect the disconnected is our mantra because there's a lot of disconnected parts. There's a lot of things going really well, but there's a lot of disconnected parts in the ownership journey.
Well, yeah, Steve, to that point, you've got 80%. What's the stat? Like 80% of your future profits is going to come from what 10% of your, or was it 20% of your existing clients. So with that, if you anything right now it's all about your existing clients. We all know the rule of thumb is it's 5 times more expensive to get new customers. So it's all about retaining your current clients right now. It is so much more expensive to bring on. And we could sit there and throw stats at you. Anyone on this panel can sit and throw stats about how expensive it is to get a new client, and how that new ad, the new ad that you're going to throw out there, it's so insanely difficult. So selling that vehicle, as Steve has said, that is just the very, very first part. And it's a very important, it's very, very important, but period. It is, there's no but, it is important. It is service. It's the service portion of it that I think that too often it's overlooked, that if service doesn't do their job and we don't focus on service, and if we screw up that portion of it, that customer's not coming back. They're not telling their friends. It's all that if they have a bad time in service, they're not coming back and not buying a car from us, and they're no longer returning. We have that churn. All of those negative things happen. And if there's that disconnect from sales to finance to service, bye-bye customer. And you've just lost all that. It's a one-time customer. Now you're just chasing your tail over and over again.
Yeah. Tully, I want to kick back to you for a moment, because I think that we got to figure out how to bring these two parts of our organizations together. Right? I actually think the job of a finance manager and the job of a service advisor are very similar. Right? We got a captive customer sitting in front of us. We're upselling them additional benefits that are delivering high levels of value. Tully, I've been on a call with you in your office and seen the F&I person on the other side. And I've been on a call with the F&I person in your office and seen you on the other side. Talk to me a little bit about how in your organization you're bridging that gap, because I find it super interesting. And I think a lot of the people on this today would love to hear a little bit more about it.
Well, it starts, I think, with your dealer. Does your dealer have the right culture in the store that we're all one team? And we have that culture. It starts with him, because if your dealer doesn't have it and they pretend to have it, it doesn't work, right? And because we're a family company for over 100 years, right, we have dedication. So the next piece is that does the F&I director and does a fixed ops director all talk about F&I products like we are one team? So he's not going to go out and find some hillbilly company to sell some hillbilly insurance that don't freaking fix anything, right? Because I'm going to be in there yelling at him when he's talking to the guy on the phone, and which I have, just so you know. So the goal is that we work together. So when he says, Tully, I'm thinking about adding this concept or doing this, that sounds great. Let's find out what that's going to do. How is that going to help the customer out? Because we're there together. Then when we have issues in the store, what do? I bring the F&I guy with me. We talk to the riders. Why can't we sell? Are we having a problem? Are you having a problem with the administrator? I mean, we get it together where we're one team. That's the reason that we share an office, is for that reason alone, that everything we talk about. So he overhears my conversations, because, I'm a very soft-spoken person, and I overhear his conversations and I chime in a lot.
All right, so we're getting towards the end of this, and I want to actually focus on delivering value for the attendees today. And so we're going to try something a little bit different at the end of this. I'm going to go around and I'm going to just hit each of you. And what I want to know is, it's 2022, right? Like, we're all on this panel working to do better. Our dealers are trying to figure out how to do better. And I'm going to ask each of you, when it comes to modern retail and modern engagement, if you were going to give one piece of advice to the dealers that are paying attention today, what would you tell those dealers to actually do better? What would be your one piece of advice? Steve Apicella, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, one mission, one journey. Tully said it, it starts from the top, and it's a culture that goes all the way through. I'll reiterate the challenge and the question I brought up in the beginning. Is our great industry only trying to sell a car and maybe a couple F&I products, or also trying to earn a recurring customer? And actions and processes and leadership speak louder than words if we desire anything more than a one-time transaction. And connecting that disconnected journey, retention doesn't start 6 months after the customer buys a car. It starts way before that. And getting connected so you can communicate to a customer in a way that they appreciate, you can add value and incentivize loyalty. And then when you get that moment, be prepared to make the most of it so that the customer understands and believes that you're there to continuously deliver that value.
Love it. Let's go around the horn fast, like 30 seconds. John Frazier, what's your one thing you would tell a dealer you got to start doing today?
Man, I preach it all the time on LinkedIn. It's all about training. Knowledge is power. I believe wholeheartedly, and in my entire career, I've always been taught that when a customer says no, they're not saying N-O, they're saying K-N-O-W. And oftentimes in our business, it's because we didn't educate the customer enough. And within our departments, both F&I, sales, service, we have to educate the crew to know what are we selling before they can offer the customer any value. It's got to be simple. It's got to be easy. And we've got to teach it and train it.
Love it, man. Elizabeth Martin, what's your one thing you would tell dealers today that would help a dealer?
Like John said, training, you have to have ongoing training and continue to educate everyone in the dealership, make sure we're all on the same page. Communication is everything. So definitely training and educating and just coming together.
Love it. Sean, what about you, man?
2 simple words: evolve and educate. You do those 2 things, you're there.
I love that, man. 2 simple words: evolve and educate. I'm gonna write that down in my notebook. Ed Roberts, Fast Eddie, what do you got?
I'll keep it simple as well. Remove friction points. Meet customers on their terms, not ours. We constantly run them through our broken process.
Love it, man. Let's go, Brooksy Furnace. You got the 10 seconds. What's your one thing?
10 seconds. Communicate and cross-train. Keep it simple. Shadow them, instead of cross-train. Whatever someone's doing, bring the other person in. Other departments.
Tully Williams, what do you got?
In the repeat,
one bit of advice.
In the referral business, make sure your team is one, not a department.
Oh, I love that. I'll give you my one piece of advice. We're all really profitable right now. So now's the time to experiment and take risks. You can do it right now. The sun is out. We're making hay. Let's take risks and try new things.
Wow. Joe St. John, what a great panel. Joe, magnificent job with all these heavy hitters, Joe. You got the very best of the best here.
I can't wait to rewatch this when it's done and everything wraps up, because I was mentally taking notes and I wanted to type notes the whole time because the knowledge that was being dropped was game changing.
Game changing, Joe, all the way. Joe, thank you so much. Steve Apicella, thank you for bringing this to the surface. It has been badly needed for a long time. You can hear that. It's resonated. A lot of the comments last time and today, out of the park, Steve. Fantastic job. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing that, it's not just always like-minded people. We need to bring everybody into the conversation. We need to listen to every perspective to really deliver the desired result. And I love events like the Fixed Ops Roundtable that does exactly that. Bringing people together. We don't always have to agree. That's not the point, but we have to listen to one another so we can really deliver what our great industry deserves. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, John, and everybody else on the panel. Appreciate you all.
Steve, thank you. I want to thank as well everybody on the panel: Sean Kingery, Elizabeth Martin, John Frazier. Good to see you again. We're going to have you back a lot. Ed Roberts, Brooke Furness. Thank you so much. The great Tully Williams, Steve Apicella, and of course, Joe St. John. Modern Retailing, everybody. The Modern Retailing panel, mega panel, sponsored by Strategic DX, your dealer experience, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Roaring 20s. Wow.